Yeah, turn your mics on. We had to reboot. Sorry about that.
And I call this regular meeting of the Nevada City Council to order on Monday, June 22nd, 2020 at 6 o'clock p.m. And before I forget, remind council to speak clearly into microphones for these partitions. It'll be difficult for people to hear each other. And we also want to make sure that those joining online are able to hear the discussion as well. So with that, we'll start with a roll call.
Brian Hansen,
Here.
Barb Mittman,
Here.
Dane Nielsen,
Here.
Jason Sampson,
Here.
Luke Spence,
Here.
Sandy Eric.
Here.
First item is approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second. Jason and then Dane. Any discussion on the agenda? Seeing none, council please vote.
Wait a minute. It's ready.
Now vote.
And
Agenda is approved. The first item is the IMWCA ICAP renewal for fiscal year 2020-2021 with Melissa Johnson from Midwest Insurance, who will be joining us here at the podium.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me come in today. Insurance is pretty cut and dry this year. About 2017, we brought in a company to review all the values for all of the property, and then went through with each different department to look at all of our equipment and our personal property. At that time, we added about $20 million in coverage, and what we did is we didn't increase the premium because we kind of wanted to spread it out over the years, but we never ended up adding it, and it was supposed to be added this year. So you'll see, we're looking at this sheet, I have a summary of you guys, it's in your packet. Just kind of going through, on the property, we took about a 4% increase. Some of that came from inflation, but we would have actually saw a much larger increase if we hadn't noticed the Parks and Rec that we were doubly insuring the pool complex. Again, we never actually took the rate for that yet, but when the assessor came out, they looked at the pool complex, put it in as one, and then broke it out into individual pieces. And so that was something that Tim noticed in our review this year, so we were able to catch that before we actually got charged for it. So we took about a $1.3 million decrease there. EDP, which is your electronic hardware, got rolled into our business personal property this year. So now insurance has become now the day and age that everything has electronics in it, and so they don't have to actually split it out anymore. So it'll be all as one, and so that's why you'll see a decrease on the EDP section down below. General liability increased about 7.3%. Law enforcement liability, we took a 2.5% decrease. And that's because of Sysmedia sent in the invoices for the outer listed carriers that we got to protect our officers. Gave us a little bit of decrease there. We have less vehicles, so that went down 14%. And then the bond decrease also would be due to the controls that we have in place. We have a lot of great controls in the city. I've seen a lot of other communities have a lot less controls on the accounting side, and I'm very comfortable with what we have. For the crime side of things. And then work comp also went down about 1.3%, and that really comes from rates. So overall, we went up about 2.3%, and then ICAP, as staying with them, gives us a credit voucher each year, and that was about $11,000 this year. So took about 1% increase. So that's pretty good. The second section that I gave you guys was actually two things. It's a summary of your 1 year and your 5-year losses. And so this is just kind of a breakout so you can see what's impacting the loss history of the city. We've reviewed it in depth, and there's really no consistent things that are happening that we can put in place. I actually attribute that to the fact that you guys have a really great proactive safety. And so there's not like one specific thing that we're seeing that like, hey, we need to make sure we're mitigating this type of risk. We have the normal things that a municipality sees in regards to the police professional liability and firefighters on the work comp side, getting in just in the line of duty. And then when it comes to the liability, I can kind of share with you guys the details if you ever want to see it, but it just kind of shows a really good example of how you guys are controlling the negligence side of things, and we're making sure that we're turning in the right claims to the city. So is there any questions on any of those documents? That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Next item is approval of the consent agenda. Any item may be removed for separate consideration.
I have I 16, 18, and 21 for separate vote, please.
21 will pull out for a separate vote. Okay, so Dane had the motion, and I heard the second from over here, but I didn't know it was me. Dane and then Barb. So that's for consent agenda minus
Wait a minute.
16, 18, 21 on human services.
We have to restart it again, so hang on a minute. There we go. Now it's ready.
Okay, and council, please vote.
There's one more hanging out there. There we go.
The consent agenda is approved. Now we will look at 16, 18, and 21. Give a motion to approve those.
Move to approve.
Second, Dane and then Brian. Any discussion on those three? Seeing none, I think we'll have to voice vote.
Nielsen,
Aye.
Hanson,
Aye.
Mittman,
Aye.
Sampson,
Aye.
Spence,
Abstain.
Eric,
Those are approved. Takes us to item 6, mayor's appointments. As you can see, we had some reappointments and then some vacancies and resignations that were filled on our various boards and commissions. Those are all in front of you.
I'll move to approve the appointments. Sorry.
Ryan, motion, Jason, second, discussion. Seeing none, you ready to vote? You guys ready, Karen?
Yeah.
Okay, council, please vote. And those are approved. Takes us into the public forum, which is time set aside for comments from the public on topics in city business other than those listed on the agenda. No action may be taken. And I'm gonna first commandeer it briefly. I have a plaque here to thank Rick Martinez for all of his hard work as our interim city administrator. He put in a lot of time, I think a lot more than he intended to when we got into the pandemic and everything else we've been going through. So wanted to thank him and recognize him for that. So bring this around. Wait, get out of my little cage. Now we can go.
I forgot it goes all the way around.
Great, good. Okay, the official picture now. Thank you, Rick. Okay, and And then I would also like to introduce and welcome Jordan, who is our new city administrator. So it's his first day on the job, and we're excited to have him as well. And I know the community will get to know him a lot more, but welcome, Jordan. Maybe tell everybody briefly a little bit about yourself, where you come from, so they get an idea.
I was born and raised in Nebraska. I moved around a little bit, Kansas, Colorado, Wyoming, a short stint in North Dakota. And my first position was up in Clarion, Iowa, and I'm happy to be a part of your guys' community. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Okay, with that, is there anyone else here intending to speak in the public forum? Okay, then we'll have you go to the microphone there and give your name and address.
I'm Rodney Byanson. I live here in Nevada. I appreciate this time very much. I will be very short and to the point. I'm a big promoter of the swimming pool. We understand, if I'm correct, Governor Reynolds has authorized now all pools will be open. Am I correct? I think I am. Anyway, is it ever given any thought to have everyone sign a waiver saying, I won't sue you if I get COVID? And have that person represent the children and et cetera. And then how do you limit the numbers if Ames stays closed, let's say, or anyone else for that matter? Have someone at the gate say, we're up to the limit, don't let anyone in until someone leaves, just like we do at bars right now. That's my opinion anyway. And the training, I would like to think that not everyone's got another job somewhere at this point, that maybe some of them could be last till to come back to be lifeguards, and anyone who hasn't been there very much could be trained by the ones who do have experience. So I don't know, just I sure would like to see something maybe done if it's still possible, and we shouldn't be running scared to think, well, I can't do anything. How do we know it won't be like this next year at this time? We don't know. I know, I realize that. I just don't want it to be where the school remains permanently closed. I just don't want to see that. If we don't have a vaccine by this time next year, does that mean it's still closed? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's your decision here. But I have a young family, though I'm an old guy, and my children love this pool. They were there every day in the past years. They're 13, 12, and 9, and they love this pool. And it's not theirs right now. That's all I'm going to say. I promise it wouldn't take very long. And so I'm done. I appreciate your time.
Do you have anything? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to say something. My name is Al Cochler, and I've been up here in Main Street, been here for 50 years. We've all seen the havoc that has happened in various cities around the country. My question is simple. Heaven forbid if something would ever happen in Nevada that would have a protest and it would turn violent. Heaven forbid. We have a short Main Street, but we have loud homes. My question is, if we would have a protest and it did turn violent and started busting windows on Main Street businesses, what would happen? That's it.
Rick, is that something you want to address?
Now, I can get lots of theoretical questions thrown at me and I can give you theoretical answers, but until it really happens, I know that we have a good working relationship with all the law enforcement in the area. I know that our people go through a lot of training. We've discussed how we would handle situations, but like anything else, until it actually happens, you actually have to make those decisions on the scene. You don't know what's going to happen. As we talked about on Saturday, in dealing with questions from the community about everything that's taking place, we've talked about race relationships. We've talked about scenarios and situations that could happen. And as
as much as possible, we try to give our people the tools that they need to make the best decisions at the time those decisions have to be made. And, as Al said, I certainly don't want to see a riot situation downtown, and as much as possible, I want to avoid that. I think I can confidently say, and I think all my senior staff will agree with me, that the situation that took place up in Minnesota, there's absolutely no way anything like that would happen here. But people are people, and sometimes people make mistakes, and I have the confidence in my staff to believe that they would make the best decisions at that time. But anything like that happens downtown now, I mean, we just don't know what's gonna happen.
Well, I'm not talking about police brutality here. I'm not talking about that at all. I'm talking about how the police would control a crowd. That's basically what I'm getting at and so forth. Because, you know, on the news, you're listening, and you had some police chiefs from City Mayor say, well, hell, it's only brick and mortar, let it burn to the ground. Well, that's okay for them to say about somebody else's property. But if something was happening to their own property in one of these cities, I think it'd be an entirely different answer and so forth. So that's where I'm coming from. It's all right to spend somebody else's money, and it's all right to burn somebody else's building. But my building, no. And I think if the officials in these cities would have a completely different idea and how they would handle this if this was happening to their own property. I thank you. I thank you very much.
Then Karen, we got a comment that my mic is getting echo online, so maybe mine needs to go down a little bit. Anyone else planning to speak in the public forum? I'll check the Zoom and make sure there's nothing there that's indicating that. And that looks clear, so we'll go ahead and close the public forum and move into old business. There's old business A, discussion and appropriate follow-up on opening of public facilities. One thing that did come in came from Park and Rec, and you got that in an email, and I'm sure Rhonda will be happy to answer questions you have about that regarding your tournament request for this upcoming weekend. Do you want Martin to get some background, or did you guys kind of understand what the ask was?
Are we talking about City Hall or SCORE?
This is particularly SCORE Park, and we can go from there. But we had a specific request regarding SCORE. The same tournament group that just had the one last weekend has some groups that are outside the border of the state.
My opinion is to let them do it. I've been to a tournament every weekend for the last month since they said we could do it. With Nebraska, Minnesota, I mean, they're all over the place. I don't think just because you draw a line at the Mississippi River, it's gonna keep you healthy compared to somebody down the street. So I think we have the opportunity, and I think the tournament went well last weekend. I think we were out of town, but the guys I know that played in town here said it went off well, so kudos to our Parks and Rec. So I don't think there's a magic line anywhere, you know, so I'm in favor of moving forward with it as far as talking about SCORE Park.
Are you skipping A then? Because to talk about the SCORE, we have to change that resolution. That's the B on the agenda instead of A.
Okay, so I was putting them together as code facilities, but we can go back.
Whichever.
Well,
We
let's
just need
finish
to
talking
know.
about SCORE B, and then we'll go back
Okay.
to the larger discussion.
Okay.
I agree with Brian. See it about it, but it would be one thing if it wasn't already here and you're trying to get it here, but it just is here. And I don't see where drawing the line here.
I'll go the other way. You know, we talked about the word region last time, and it was a donut county around Story County, and we branched that out to state. Now we're hoping to the whole country, basically. I think that's a little too far. I'd rather keep it in state. That's a lot of people going to our businesses that are actually open now. I think that when we already have a growing problem in the county, it's not going to help it at all.
Other comments or motions?
The only feedback I got was from parents of children that are engaged in some of the programming that's happening now, that we've been able to do that skill practice, some softball, baseball things that we're starting. My only question on their behalf is if we open this up to the entire community, baseball, softball community that is accustomed to coming and using our facilities, is that in any way going to affect what you're able to offer to the kids that live in the community?
So no, it would not affect that at all. Everything that we've done so far has been within guidelines that we've been following, and that all of the organizations which we've been working with, which is specifically for USSSA, they're following as high guidelines as they possibly can, but it would not affect at all what we're doing currently within our department and what we're offering. I view those as two separate things, but yet I've learned a lot from watching what USSSA and what USA Softball has been doing to be able to implement that into our programs to make sure that we're, one, being safe for the participants, and two, being safe for our staff. And like I said in the email is I don't believe that this is putting our staff in any additional danger. They basically, it's almost impossible to run a tournament when they've got teams coming in from Nebraska and Minnesota, I believe, and Missouri. That might be the surrounding states that they're bringing in. They have a total of 4 teams coming to play in Nevada from out of state, so it's not like it's a whole lot of them. But like I said, it's almost impossible for them to run a tournament here if we don't allow them to have those states come and participate, because nobody knows what teams are going to make it into which bracket or which division, because there's like gold bracket, silver bracket, things of that nature. So like I said, it just makes it too hard or too difficult. And if it was me, I know that I couldn't do it, so that's how I always try to look at it. If I were to run a tournament, and if we're the only place in the state of Iowa that is not allowing USSSA to have out-of-state teams, we're the only community. So that shows you where we're all at. And like you said, if we look at the numbers, our numbers are going up, but I don't think that changes the common sense aspect of it and what we're doing to try to protect the people and try to protect our staff.
But with our numbers going up, are we unnecessarily exposing other folks that are visiting the community? Is there a way to loan these days out to another facility? I mean, that I'm having a parent flashback, and we're the only ones that aren't. It's not necessarily an argument for.
Well, Barb, I'm gonna interject here if you don't mind.
No, absolutely.
Like I said, I've spent a lot of time to these tournaments. I would argue that it's safer to go play a baseball tournament now than it is to go to our fairway.
Okay.
And this is why. Foul balls, I'll use an example for foul ball. Nobody can touch foul balls except for the team who is on the field. So if we're the team and Brett's pitching, one of us have to go get it. None of our parents, nobody from the spectators, they make it perfectly clear. So it's your team using the ball. You have to hand sanitize that ball with spray when it comes to the dugout. The bats have to be sprayed down every inning. At the end of the game, you have to clean your dugout and spray the whole dugout down. We have to do that as the coaches. Then when we walk in, after your team has just walked out, we spray it down again. The umpires don't touch the balls. They're allowing them to wear masks if they want. I haven't seen that yet, but nobody really has. But I mean, it's like sanitizing 101, these tournaments. And like I say, I'd be more nervous about going to fairway, to be honest with you, than stepping in the dugout right now. I mean, it's,
So the reassurance to our local parents is the last folks that were in the dugout have sanitized that dugout, and it's done additional.
and
work on that.
they sanitize as they go.
And we do that as well.
Right.
Yes.
And that's rules put on by the association. That is anything to do with what our Parks and Rec does. We kind of going on top, because I haven't seen a lot of this, but we're doing it on top of it. So I'd say we're above and beyond what most communities are doing that I've been to the last few years.
So Brian, that would prompt me to ask if you have experience with this in response to Luke's concern about the rest of the community, the folks that come to the tournament, spread out around.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they won't let you have pop-ups, you know, the 10 by 10 pop-ups that you normally have, because they don't want, because I got one and it's hot and it's shady, so they don't want Al and his family to pour it underneath it. Because that's what happens when it's hot. So you can't have it. You can have an umbrella. They do socially distance. The officials from the tournaments actually walk around and make sure that people are, and you will get scolded, which is okay. I've even seen fields that have painted, they go all the way around the fence and they paint, you have a 10-foot square and then they go 6 feet and put an X, and then they paint another spot. So you can only sit in the spots that they give you. So they force you to socially distance almost. I'm not saying there's, people, because I would be guilty of that too. The kid that plays with my son who's at my house all the time, do I socially distance with his mom and dad? Probably not, because they've been to my house so many times. But you see where I'm getting at. They, kind of like what we're doing here, they're going above and beyond, making sure that you're socially distanced. And they're doing it at the high school games too. Bleachers, they mark off the benches so you can only sit like every other row. If they even let you sit in them, a lot of tournaments won't even let you sit in the bleachers. You gotta sit in the grass, so.
And we do not let people sit in our bleachers. So therefore, we're trying to keep it as much as there will be no potential spread from someone coming in from out of the community to our community at our ballpark. I agree with Brian. You're worse off going to a fairway or to somewhere, to a store or something like that.
So what are the teams doing between games? Are they enjoying the community, or are they allowed to eat out there? What's
Personally, they usually schedule, and Ron can speak for our schedule. Like when if we play 2 games a day, we usually play back to back and then we're out. So our kids don't even leave the dugout. We stay in. I mean, another team comes in, but they're trying to do that as much as they can, so we don't have to play at 10 o'clock in the morning and then hang around for 6 hours and leave at 5 o'clock, because that is really bad for socially distancing. It's hard to keep 11 or 12 girls or boys that play together from not all congregating out under the same shade tree and sharing each other's lunch, even when you tell them not to. So they just pretty much make it impossible to hang around. And that's, like I said, Ron could speak for hers, but I'm pretty sure that's how we're doing it here too.
Well, that is how Utah Baseball runs their tournament. They have pods where they come in and play a couple hours, and then they actually had the 12 teams come in and play, and then they all left a break, and then had the other teams come in. Like I said, we do have the holding warm-up areas. So the only time it gets a little sketchy is on Championship Sunday, when you might have, a team waiting around. They got a little excited last time on Championship Sunday, which is easy to do. But we've handled that and addressed that, and that's not going to be, should not be an issue in the future.
I actually went to my first shirtless A tournament for my son this weekend down in Altoona, and I thought it was run very well. I thought from the cleaning and all those perspectives. My son's team had a 2-hour break each day though, and a lot of people went to Culver's or Subway or whatever was nearby. So I think there's an opportunity there. Kind of depends on the schedule of each team. But in Nevada, they're going to go probably to Fairway or McDonald's to get water or sandwiches or whatever they're going to do. So I think there's still a concern on community spread or just the responsibility of knowing we're in a higher number area right now in our county, and the responsibility of people coming in there. I thought the tournament was run very well, like camped out in the outfield. distant as I could. And I'm not gonna brag, but I caught a home run ball with a bare hand the other day.
You guys won.
And we went 5-0, so. But, yeah, the tournament, I thought that portion was very good. It's what people do the rest of the time. And the ball did not go back to the field. And I got it.
Was it your kids?
No, I gave it to the kids' dad.
That's a discussion, do we have a motion?
So what are we looking for here? It just says to review it.
I think it's
Maybe ask Aaron.
or E in particular.
This is Erin, if you can hear me. I mean, really what you're looking at here is on that resolution number 7E. At the last meeting, you voted to remove or region from it. I think at this point, if you're looking to open it up, you either just remove 7E altogether. Well, yeah, I think what you're looking at is just removing 7E altogether. If what you're wanting to do is be able to open up city facilities to invite people from out of state.
Okay, then I'll make a motion to remove number 7E from resolution number 047B.
I'll second. A motion and a second from Brian and Dane. Further discussion. Seeing none, council, please vote.
So one more hanging out there.
It's missing somebody's button.
There we go.
And that has passed, so we will then have the larger discussion about public facilities. Is there any change the council would like to see there?
Really what we're looking at still, obviously the pool's not open. We just got the store pretty much. We're talking about city hall, library pretty much. I think Jeremy's back to full staff, aren't you?
Everything except the wastewater plant.
Okay. You think that's prudent, or is it?
I think we can open, I think we can go full stack everywhere.
Because, PD, Rick, are you guys back, you've never really got off of your full schedule, have you? Since you rotate guys and
Well, the officers don't rotate, just my staff on the side here, between Nancy and Kathy. They work 2.5 days apiece. That has not changed.
I think we're splitting staff up during the day, but at night, weekends, they're going to town mingling,
I think last meeting Brett made the comment that our city hall is built about as well as you could possibly have a city hall be built to deal with a pandemic like we're dealing with. And I mean, for all of the same reasons that we're starting to talk about having other teams coming into town and now out of state to play baseball, softball, what have you. Most of our staff going back to full staff. I feel like we can provide these services. Where are we at on hiring a custodian? That would be the one question I would have.
Karen, do you know that answer?
custodian.
They're asking about the custodian.
I think she starts tomorrow, doesn't she? Sarah, did you?
They're both starting tomorrow.
Then that would take away the one concern I would have had that Sandy, as you brought up last meeting. So I know I've been there all along, but I'm still there. I think we're to the point where we should really strongly consider opening it up to them.
The only other concern I have on that is if we just let them load up the library, if we open it wide up, we could have 20 kids walk in there pretty easy, and I don't think that's probably right. So I think if we just if we as a group decide to do something in the library too, one, I think their board has to make an educated decision because they're kind of their own deal, but we really need to limit numbers, I think, in the library for a while still, because we really can't have that thing elbow to elbow in there. It gets that way some days, especially in the summer with the kids and the stuff they got going on in there, so.
Do we even have the authority to talk about the library, or is that their separate board?
No, but I think we could recommend what we're doing, and then that way they know, and they can make, their board's gonna have to decide what they wanna do.
She has, they have their steps to. And they were dependent on what happened.
I guess I think towards it, if the cases spiking kind of in our area, that maybe we should hold it off. I'd say with cases spiking, maybe we should.
Sorry?
Maybe we should hold off to the next meeting and see where the cases are at.
Yeah, 2 more weeks ain't that jealous. You know, there's quite a few spikes right now. They are there because we test more, obviously they're testing more. People are, I see the videos of the bars and stuff where there's no social distancing. You know, there's bars, so. And I have a feeling the library probably wouldn't do anything for another 2 weeks anyway. That's what concerns me the most. But that's their decision again.
About the only thing you have left with the jurisdiction is out here. A lot of.
You know, I think we can leave it up to Rick too, if they wanna, I mean, if he wants to still alternate his group, then that's kind of the department head's decision. Jeremy made his decision to work in his guys around and whatever, so.
Mayor, one thing I think, I'm not sure if I brought you up to speed on this, but we've got 2 city employees outside the police department that have been exposed to COVID-19. Now, they've been tested and they're negative. And I've got 1 officer exposed and they've been tested and I'm waiting for the results of 1 other officer. So, and this is all since the last meeting that we had. So there's been talk about spikes and talks about safety, but I've never had those before and now we're having. So I just want you to take that into consideration in the decision you make.
Unless I hear a motion, we will be moving on to item C. Okay. Item C, ordinance number 1011-2019-2020, an ordinance amending chapter 92 water rates and chapter 99 sewer use charges, second reading.
Move approved.
Second.
Luke and Brian, discussion. Seeing none, council please vote. Passes, takes us to item B, resolution number 69-2019-2020, resolution approving the construction drawings for South Glen subdivision.
Second.
Same here. But Al and Jim are excited about this topic being up here.
What was it,
So I bet you're excited to have this topic up here.
Yes.
And if we have no discussion, council please vote.
Two more.
Two more buttons.
I need it.
Your lights,
Sandy's is not,
okay,
And my design.
okay. So voice
I'm
vote,
aye.
aye. Eric? Okay. Sure.
Well, congratulations, fellas, when are you gonna start moving dirt?
Already had it already.
Well, I haven't been out there for a while.
It's right out there.
Yeah, they moved to one.
Last
time I drove by, there wasn't any, so
There's a mountain of dirt out there right now.
Good.
So exciting.
I've been here 3.5 years.
Yeah.
It has been a long time. I think I was sitting up there by Brian when this first came. Yeah. I know I was. 'Cause I took a boat over there. It was one of the early.
I wish I had water rights, because this went on quicker.
No, the city has a water right.
That's what I meant, yeah.
Then we will move on to item E, resolution number 70, 2019-2020, a resolution approving bond purchase agreement for the sale of water revenue refunding bonds, series 2020D, and authorizing all outstanding bonds. I know Michael is also on the line for this item, I believe, as well.
Hi, folks.
So,
I'm more than happy to be short and sweet today. I had one slide and I didn't think it was worth the time for you guys to try to swap it over on Zoom. So I will summarize briefly the material that was in your packet. As noted, we did complete the financing late last week. We try to do things ahead of the weekend when we can, but the market has obviously had some volatility over the course of this year. So while that was what we tried to do, having it work out was an extra bonus. We did get very good interest from the banks in the area, a few of the branches of First National Bank out of Ames, as well as Prime Bank, among a few others. That helped to drive the interest rate low. For the 7-year transaction, the true interest cost, it's kind of like your APR on your home mortgage or a car, was 1.34%. Now, I know you've got tax exempt bonds here, but that's a pretty awesome rate. So we were able to achieve the savings target of 3% that we were looking for, about 3.4% at $113,000, just a shade under 114 on a present value basis. That's the conservative analysis that we targeted and what we talked about a month or so ago when we got this process going. That being said, the real benefit of this one is the cash flow savings that's really going to help us out on the water fund over the next several years. That savings is just over $712,000 over the next 7 years. And I'd like you to focus on the fact we'd have over $110,000 of savings each year through fiscal 26. Now, I know in a few prior work sessions we've reviewed both the water and sewer utility funds. Please note that this savings was not accounted for in that analysis. This is just a little bit of icing on top of the sundae here. So want to be short and sweet for you. Happy to answer any questions that you have, but otherwise this locks in the rate and savings, and working with your bond attorney, Dorsey and Whitney, we'll make sure for a smooth closing here late next month. Otherwise, want to just thank staff again. This is one more thing on top of their pile of work here, especially with Rick as an interim. So Rick and Karen, just a shout out to thank them again for their time and attention on this project.
that's everything for Michael. Any motions?
I'll move to approve resolution number 70.
Brian, Jason, further discussion? Seeing none, council please vote. That passes. Takes us to new business. New business A is approved purchase of RMS system for public safety department.
So this is something that I've been working on since January, February. We saw demos from both Central Square, which is the product Zucker, and Global Public Safety, which is TAC-10, which is what we currently have now. So we've seen both softwares in use in a demo, for the different agencies that have Zucker, another agency that has TAC-10. Both are fairly local. Marshalltown has Zucker. Boone County has TAC-10. There's a few agencies about our size. Clear Lake, they have Zucker, but they also share with the rest of the county, which is cost effective, a lot of savings there. So we had budgeted, I believe, around $8,000 for a new work management system. And I'm not sure when that budget was put in place, but it was put on the 2019-2020 budget.
the current system we have now, very old, outdated, the data is getting lost. We're getting duplicate information, which makes it very frustrating for officers when they're doing reports. It doesn't prompt you if there's going to be a duplicate name or an address validation, that type of thing. So both of these systems will help accomplish that. One better than the other because of the mapping that will work. We'll integrate the software with what we use for the mapping here with for planning and zoning. And having the ability to validate addresses, not duplicate things. One, it stays on data storage. Also, two, it auto-populates. That way, the officers aren't in the police department spending a lot of time on these reports and just getting back out on the field. Now, both of the products we'll be able to use out in the field. There'll be mobile capabilities because now we have computers in our cars. We'll be able to complete that. So just to kind of hit on my action form, we haven't had an update on our current system since 2012. And our 2017, and that was a NIBRS issue, which is the national database that the FBI uses when we report yearly to the FBI. And that still didn't fix the bug that we had. So Kathy hasn't been able to report to NIBRS in almost 3 years. And then DCI came in this year and they did an audit on us, and our records were so inaccurate that they had to go to the county sheriff's office and pull up jail records to get the height, weight, eye color, hair color, those types of things. So in reality, both of these softwares will complete those. Again, one better than the other in some aspects. Has everybody had a chance to, I know it's a lot of information. Has everybody had a chance to review it? Some of the pros and cons. I know there's about a $30,000 price difference in one from the other. But the one thing that I'm taking away from this, and I've talked to the other sergeant, the detective, some of our officers, and we kind of come to the conclusion that we would recommend doing the Central Square Zucker software. I know it's the more expensive one, and it's customizable. Each officer can set their own dashboard for reminders. The workflow is a lot smoother. The Global does have they're working on a customizable dashboard and interface for workflow, but it hasn't been pushed out yet. It's something that they are hoping to push out this month or next month, as well as their mapping. I think Sean Cole has spoken with one of the representatives that will integrate with our mapping system that we have here in Nevada, but it isn't rolled out yet. So there's a lot of questions with that one. Another question with Central Square, and my big takeaway from it is Zucker is a Central Square product, which the rest of the county has OSSI, which is a Central Square product. We will be able to access that CAD information database, which is a huge officer safety deal. We will have access to that data. Since we're going to be starting from scratch, we're not going to be doing a data conversion because there's just too many problems with it. It's almost $8,000 to do, so it's very expensive. We will have access to that data, and if we have access to that data, we issue a citation, we do a crash, we do a field contact with somebody, and that person's already in the system, it's automatically loaded to our RMS system. Now, TAC 10 will be able to do that at cost, and they will be able to build that at a cost. Also, too, they need to ask permission from Central Square OSSI and from that neighboring agency to get that done. They haven't had any problems in the past. I've talked to agencies, not in Iowa, but in Tennessee, that there wasn't a whole lot of pushback on accessing that other competitor's information, but they still need to get permission. And we don't know what access or what information we have access to, so that's another question. But if we go with the Central Square product and we link it with another Central Square product,
they're not competitors, so they're more willing to give us access to certain data, whether it's RMS data or CAD data.
Hey, sorry, real quick. You are totally like way over my head right now. Can you break this down to layman's term? What is it you're trying to do?
Basically, I'm recommending Zucker, the Central Square product.
What is this product though?
So it's our report managing system. So basically, how we write our reports, names, addresses, phone numbers, vehicles that go into this system. Also too, we'll be able to get information through a CAD system, which is the call, because we don't get dispatched through Nevada, we go through the sheriff's office. CAD information will be brought to us, to our terminals in real time. Now, we won't be dispatched by that, we'll just get that information and we'll go into our RMS system.
So when you say that we haven't had an update since 2017, is that just like a database of people?
No, it's an update for NIBRS. It's an update to patch bugs and fixes and those types of things. Now, we have TAC 10, but we just didn't. In 2012, we just stayed status quo with what we had. We didn't upgrade to what they are now. We just kind of stayed where we were. It was working. Then it started to fail us. And in 2015, we had another opportunity to do something. We just didn't do it, whether it's a money issue or just a timing issue. I don't know. I wasn't part of those conversations. But now the system has just kind of broke down, and we need something.
And then my last question is, where are you going to find the 45,000 difference in your budget?
Well, that's going to be something that we're going to discuss with. I mean, we're already over the budget
15.
with both, and I get one is much larger than the other. The other advantage is I've already had conversation with Ames. They're going to be dropping OSSI here soon, and they've had conversations of going with Zucker, and that would put us with the rest of the county. So we would have one interface, one database, and what that hopefully would accomplish is a lot of what ifs. I get it, but ultimately would be a lower maintenance cost because it would be split 6 ways with 6 different agencies.
So that's the ongoing cost at the bottom of that proposal, first year, 5-year totals, could be changed with the action of
Right.
Ames PD and Ames City Council.
Yep, so it would be Ames PD, Story County Sheriff's Office, ISU PD, Huxley, and Story City, because all of them are right now are on the same database. And I don't know what the savings would be. It could be between 5 and 8% savings. So that 17,000 or that end of 5 years would be 19.3. That could be different. But again, it's all relying on if they go to Zucker. I can't guarantee you that they are, but they are talking that we're going to be looking that direction. They like Central Square. They like dealing with the folks there, but their system right now is kind of like ours. It's just failing.
Chief, do you feel confident you can find $45,000 in your budget somewhere to transfer?
I feel confident we could find it.
I'm sure Karen's gonna say no.
That's our default answer.
They won't just get to buy a car. That's all. They'll have to put it off a year.
Oh, Has that discussion taken place?
Pardon?
Has that discussion taken place on where the extra money is gonna come from?
Aaron and I have talked about it briefly, and Josh and I talked about that.
I mean, I have no problem approving the larger one, the better package, just to make sure we have the right stuff. More concerned about the 45.
Right. And don't get me wrong, both will do what we want. Both will be better than what we have. But you know,
I want long-term better.
long-term, and again, that big what if. If Ames decides to go with this product, one will be, it's going to be between 36 and 48 months when they make this decision. So it's not going to be something quick. But we'll have that advantage. We'll have that database built up. They'll be looking to us for training, for those questions. But then the big thing is, okay, if we have 6 agencies sharing one database, one interface, there's going to be multiple changes in the next 36, 48 months for anything. And these companies are cyclical. It could be a completely different company for all we know. But what they have to offer, the customized, they are very custom to the officer. The workflow is so much better. TAC-10 is a great product. They have rolled out new things since we've gotten the proposal. But it's just a lot of those questions. Okay, mapping is brand new. The interfaces that are customizable is brand new. We have to ask permission to access OSSI Central Square database from Ames County, ISU. We may get some information, but we may not get what we want. Or they may just tell us no. I don't know. They've worked well with other agencies. Like I said, down in Tennessee, they didn't have much of a problem. But I can't say we're gonna run into a problem that they're gonna be dealing with Ames and ISU, the county, three or four different agencies. It's a lot of data.
So from reading through all this stuff, probably more times than I should have. Well, I understand Zucker compared to the TAC-10, that it will save you guys a lot of time, office time. Because it autofills, it does a lot of things that the other one doesn't.
Well, Global will do that too. The only thing that Global doesn't do is the address verification because of the questions with the mapping on how they work with Sean Pool's map. So if they can do address validation, then yes, it'll populate. As soon as we start typing in numbers, it'll pull up every street in the data that's close to those numbers, and then we can just select it. Now, both will do that, but it's just the validation. Is that address correct? Right? If it's not a correct address, then there's no point in putting it in. And it doesn't prompt you saying, hey, this isn't a good address. Zucker will do that Global right now. Now they're saying it will at some point in time once they hook up with Sean's mapping, but again, it's brand new. I was told there's some bugs in it, but by the time we get live, which will probably be in November, December, by the time we go live, some of those bugs may be worked out. Some of them may not be worked out. So where Zucker, this has already been in place. It's part of the package. Which makes less time in the office, less time doing reports, less time. Ever since we've gone to tracks now in our computers, it takes 2-3 minutes to do a citation to where we were handwriting, it takes 7 minutes. Well, 4 minutes over, each traffic stop, each ticket adds up, in your shift.
So ultimately get you guys on the street a little bit more.
That's the goal. I mean, again, it's up to the officer and how they spend their time. Right, and how familiar they are. I mean, at first it's going to take some, a lot of learning curves and some bumps and bruises, but if we can, whichever product we choose, it's going to take time to get used to it.
Since Brian's getting to one of my interests, and that is we really laid out very clearly the value to the staff. What's the value to the students?
So I think I mentioned it in my summary was, nuisance abatements is a big deal for our community. So, and I'm gonna go back to the mapping. If we can create a hot map over years. We can either bring in old data, which will take some time, or we can just create new data over a 2-3 year stretch, and we can say, okay, we can create a hot map over 2 or 3 years of nuisance abatements on addresses that are a continuous problem. And instead of deploying officers and somebody just to drive around and look, we can deploy them to those certain areas of the community because we have a continuous problem with that area with a nuisance, whether it's tall grass, junk in the yard, unregistered vehicles, whatever the case may be. That would be a little bit more efficient and effective use of their time instead of just driving around trying to find something. So we call those hot maps. Now we do them with crime statistics like burglaries, car thefts, but you can also use it for nuisance abatements, dog bites, that type of thing.
The only question I had, after talking through all this stuff, was when you got to see the demonstration, was Zucker one demonstrated on Windows 7, or was it demonstrated on Windows 10? Because in my own experience, that shift, sometimes I can run things on Windows 7, but you don't get all the options are not available, and all the things I was really looking for are not there until you upgrade to 10.
So Zucker will run both Windows 7 and 10. Now Global will only run Windows 10.
Yeah, does the Zucker one with Windows 7 run all of the things that we're seeing that they say that it will do?
Absolutely. Okay. So whatever you have, Windows 7 or Windows 10, it will do the capabilities.
Okay. So they're all anchored.
Yes, and Zucker will actually, we don't pay for the, we are paying for it, but it's Zucker's server, and it will be an on-site server, but it also too will be able to remote in. So we will have the data here, the servers here, and it's only Zucker that works on those, their IT staff are the only ones that, if we have a problem, they're the only ones that will go in, find the problem, fix the problem. If there's a software update, they're the one that, hey, we're gonna do it at 3 o'clock in the morning, just let you know, we'll be down for an hour, and they do about 4 a year. Global does the same thing, they do about 3 or 4 a year, and they do one major rollout in January. Same thing with Zucker, they do a major rollout in January. Now, Global, we will have to purchase our own servers and our own software with Craig, that type of thing, and then we would pay Craig to do the IT work on that. So we've kind of come up with an estimated cost of what it would be. If we did Global TAC 10, after 5 years, about $15,000 with new hardware, servers, softwares, securities, and then also to pay Craig.
And that would include the Windows 10 as well.
Yes. Yep. This is my first one, so give me some. I know it's a lot. Thing is, though, I get this is a lot of information, and I'm, probably talking over a lot of people's heads, but I mean, whichever product we go with, it's gonna be better than what we have. I just wanna make sure that our officers have the tools, so that way they can do their jobs efficiently, effectively, and just be on the street. And that's the goal, be safe. Having the ability to be synced up with the rest of the county, whether we have Zucker or TAC 10, is my ultimate goal, because I think data sharing is the best. I mean, because we deal with folks from Ames and they deal with folks from Nevada, and it's going to be the same thing. I think Director Martinez says all the time, if they do jump on with us or we jump on with them, they're going to be benefiting from us more than them, because we're going to have a lot of that information already. So, and I totally agree with that statement. So, Nevada's kind of that melting pot.
Would something of this have been highly beneficial? I'm assuming the answer is yes, but with like, say, the robbery of the bank a few months ago, with this, how?
Yeah,
like that.
no, we talked about that. Instead of coming back to the PD, and we didn't have any of that information, it was all cell phone. I know Officer Hutton had to jump into a county car to run possible suspects, and then pull up an FI card on one, which is a field interview card, on one of our potential suspects, based on the plate that we were given and that vehicle. If we go with Zucker, there's this thing called, it's an HTML, it's a web-based product, it's called Police to Police, and it has any and every person that's had contact with all law enforcement agencies in Story County. Now we would get that on top of Zucker, and that's free. So I mean, how much would it have helped? I don't know, but it would have helped. We would have gotten information out a lot quicker, notified agencies a lot quicker. Would they have been stopped on the interstate? Couldn't tell you that. I mean, we found them on the DOT cams, and we got down to the timeline, but that took some time. And, now having a computer or an RMS system at that point would have nothing to do with that, but getting the FI card information, who the associates would have been, girlfriends, boyfriends, associates, that type of thing, then we would have had a list of suspects fairly quickly. And that would have been with Zucker or TAC 10. Doesn't matter who we had.
I'll move to approve option 1.
Second.
Motion by Luke, second by Barb for option 1. Further discussion? Seeing none, council please vote. That passed. Takes us to new business B. Thanks, Josh. Approved purchase of truck chassis for the ultra high pressure to replace number 610 fire department. Director Reynolds is here to talk on that.
Yes, so we are in the process, we have 4 rural vehicles left. We're in the process of, right now, our new skid unit is on a 13-year-old truck that we've had replaced replace the turbo 3 to 4 times. It's having some real issues. It's 13 years old. And so what we would like to do is purchase a truck chassis similar to what we already have. We would purchase the flatbed similar to what we already have, and we would slide that new skid unit on the new chassis. We have 7 bids that we put out. You can see our RFP. My only concern is that the bid that really fits our needs is the most expensive. But we look at, that one's from Ames Ford. So we did have some concern with the number of bids. I tried to spell out the pros and cons for you. We have got to have at least 11.2 for weight rating for the 200 gallons of water and the equipment that we have. A number of the vehicles that I was a little disappointed in the bids that we got because they were just, forget what you want, we're just gonna bid a truck, and that was not really what we were after. You can see a couple of them have smaller engines, a couple of them have weight ratings that are in the 10,000, 11,000, and that's simply just not gonna be safe for the amount of weight we're gonna put on this vehicle. So what we're requesting is the approval of the option number 1, which is the Ames Ford bid. The other advantage to that is it's 5 miles, 6 miles away. We've had good relationships with them, and the amount of time it would take to drive down to Stivers or Dewey or Zeri would just not be very feasible. So that's what we're requesting. And I should tell you that the old truck will go back to the rural trustees per the city rural agreement. I think in the past, the townships have been very agreeable to revert that funds back into our capital. They don't have to because it's their truck. But in the past they have, and I do believe a diesel 350 flatbed, albeit 13 years old, would probably be a pretty good agricultural truck. So I'm thinking sadly we would get more money out of that truck from giving it back to them than selling the fire engine. And I'll take any questions if you have. Thank you.
Hey, real quick, the Dewey Ford anyone where it's just a standard truck box, a regular single cab. So the one you want has the Super Duty cab. Is that just for storing stuff or?
Yeah, so originally we were looking at truck for truck, single cab, and they not only met the single cab, but they were gonna do it's not the extended cab, but it's Super Duty cab. So what we would do is that's not a full 4-door truck, it's that swing out type door. That would actually work better for us than what we've asked for because we would put SCBA racks in the back seat so that we could store the SCBAs inside the cab instead of right now they're strapped to the outside, driving down gravel road, and then you go to a fire and you put on a dusty air pack. It's not ideal, but that was our attempt to get air packs onto that UHP because we do anticipate taking that further in our fire attack, and having SCBAs would be helpful as we get into these small structures, garages, and eventually work that truck. My plan is to have a new reliable truck that isn't overweight that would be able to be a first out quick attack like the UHP is designed for. But that truck would work for us. It's just, this is a little bit better option. The other thing too is if you look at some of the features, painted rims, stuff like that, instead of aluminum alloy, it's a more generic truck than what that Ames Ford is. Thank you.
I move to approve option 1.
Second.
Motion by Jason, second by Dane. Discussion? Seeing none, council please vote. And that passes, takes us into your reports. First up is city administrator, so Stuart might not have a lot to say about his first day, but we're going to put that today.
Well, I read a lot and tried to get everything taken care of for the
council meeting and was trying to just get in the groove of things, so I'm sorry I do not have much else to report for the next council meeting.
Sounds good. Okay, for my report, I wanted to thank everyone who made it possible to be back in here. So Aaron worked hard on it. Joe from the school helped us significantly with the tech support to get it going to Zoom, so folks in the community could participate remotely still. And the streets department, Jeremy did all the work with our heavy duty dividers here, so we can all be safe. So I took a lot of work to get all those things done, so we could be back here. Thanks for everyone that did that. Otherwise, I won't steal Ray's thunder about the fire seminar, but good work on that. We had a meeting with DOT last week. They're going over, they're at 30% design phase for bridge for S14 intersection. So that's where the discussion, the workshop here shortly comes from. Because there's some questions they would like answered from our community before they get further into the design phase. And then the coffee last weekend on Saturday, Ray was on it, Rick was on it, Sergeant Brandis, Officer Hutton, had some really good questions to the community. That went well. I think it was really timely. It was a good discussion. Probably this Saturday, I'm trying to talk Brian into it, but doing coffee on Saturday, likely with the Highway 30 discussion to follow on from the workshop today. We'll lock that in and let the community know. Council, any questions for me? Okay. Council reports.
Saturday was the 7th running of the Story County Freedom Run. It was awesome. We had 98 people register, which is a record for that race by quite a bit. The two closest races were both propped up by out-of-town people, whereas almost everybody that registered was from Nevada or from Story County. The school, I think, was really supportive in getting the student population involved. About a third of our students were under the age of, or runners were under the age of 30. It was a great event, well attended. Everyone did a pretty good job for the most part, social distancing, and the top two finishers were separated by 0.2 seconds. So that was a wave. It was a wave start, so they didn't actually cross right next to each other. We'd still be trying to figure it out. But yeah, I think it was a good model for other communities too. A lot of them have moved their races to virtual, but I think as we start to go forward, that is something that Nevada can take pride in and help other communities see that this is a way that you can still have a community event. We're fortunate to have Scorepark where obviously people can spread out, but it was really encouraging. I thought it was a great day for our community.
Other council reports?
We're gonna have our Lincoln Highway Days committee meeting Wednesday, so stay tuned for that news after that one.
Don't have me to be part of that decision.
Yeah.
Other reports? Okay, and we'll go back to staff. We'll start with Jeremy.
As far as public works goes, the street department is doing a lot of patching. You can see an oil issue. I think everybody's been having an oil issue. DOT, city, everybody. So I don't know if they changed oil formulation, but I think we've got it under control. And we're repairing a lot of storm sewer intakes. And wastewater plant, they're still separated. Due to COVID-19. Mike Neal got the tour of the Grinnell wastewater facility. The new one is going to be like ours, so got some ideas and see how some things are going to work. And as far as the water plant, it's business as usual. They're staying separated on their tasks, with the daily tasks, so. Don't have anything, anybody got any questions for me?
Just for people online, I'm gonna ask staff to come over by a microphone when it's their turn, just to make sure people who are watching can hear. So Jeremy got out of it. But we'll start with Ray heading up that way. And then we might get a remote mic for next time to keep in the back by staff.
Yeah, so Director Martinez assigned a few of us to the fireworks task force, Sergeants Ismadia, Tim Hansen, Director Hansen, Director Ruddle, and Henry Corbin. We have decided to move ahead with fireworks, and we are going to have a contractor come in and discharge those fireworks. There'll be a trailer that comes in. So I think that's a safer option. It allows us to get in and get out and not put a bunch of people together, especially from the public safety department all in one place. So fireworks will go on. They'll go on at dusk. Everybody asks me what time. I have no idea when it gets dark. So, but that'll be the best. We'll continue on with that. I know the park and rec and everybody will be putting some stuff out with Marlis on social distancing. And Marla's been very helpful in getting the word out and stuff, so she's been doing a real good job on that. The other thing is last week we did the sprinkler summit, and it was neat to have national experts specifically talk about Nevada and pull up pictures of buildings in Nevada. Jeff Hugo is probably the most expert fire code person there is, and talking about tax incentives and trade-offs, and if ever you're going to put a sprinkler system in, now's the time to do it. And as I was talking with John Augustus, and I was like, if you're going to do it, just get the water in your building and we'll deal with it. And as with all this project going on. But I thought it went really well, and I want to thank everybody that was involved, Mayor and folks, because my goal is to see a downtown sprinkled at some point. I think it saves our history and our heritage and our buildings. And that 1000 block of 6th Street had 2 fires, and both times the wall at Gathering stopped those fires, but a significant cost back in the 1800s. So I could think of nothing worse than losing our downtown. Thank you.
Hey, Ray, it looked like there was I think it's a firework seller going in at the Fairway parking lot. Are there others going to be coming in?
Yeah, so far I have 1 license to inspect. I was kind of waiting for them to open up to actually walk through their tent. We are contracted with the State Fire Marshal's Office to do that inspection, and they've got their system down quite nicely now. They actually have a plans examiner that physically looks at every plan. The goal of the state is to have every fireworks booth inspected. Last year they were at like 70%, and that just bothers me that you could sell fireworks out of a tent and nobody ever look at it. So last year the folks that did it did a surprisingly really good job. We met with them up front. We give them safety flyers. We tell them the rules. We tell them we're going to cite them if they violate the rules, and we're pretty upfront. So I anticipate the next couple of days, I have it on my calendar to go do that inspection, and then we'll submit that paperwork to the state so that they know. But at this point, the other 2 that normally show up are not licensed. That would be the Dollar General had a small display, and then Anytime Fitness in that corner there was usually a couple of booths. But at this point, this is the only approved license in Nevada.
Yeah. Can you refresh my memory, what are the legal hours for names and so forth?
Good question. Yeah, it's July 1st through the 4th, and don't quote me exactly, but it's typically till, I think it's 10 o'clock. I'll get back to you on that, but I know on the 4th of July, you could shoot up to midnight. It's a little bit later there, so, but I'll pull up that code section. I think it's section 43 in it. Yeah, the biggest thing is you can only discharge fireworks during the legal time, and you can only do it on real property that you own. If you have shared property, like an apartment building, you can't go out in the front yard of the apartment building and discharge fireworks. But I typically start looking at the fireworks ordinance about this time. Been relatively quiet. We've had a few go off already, but we'll step up that as we get that tent open.
And I know it's in the newsletter this month that we get mailboxes. So
yeah,
I'm sure Marlis will get it all over social media again. It's already been out there. So.
I've been struggling with dates and times because of open burning, and that's over, and people asking questions about that. But I'll definitely look that up, and maybe we get with Marlis and put some more stuff out there. But it's only the 4 days.
Okay. Tim.
Just a couple of things. We met with Rosa Mackey-Harris last week on the Fieldhouse project, and they are still moving ahead with plans and specifications for that project. So they would like to meet, I think pretty consistently now, maybe every 2 to 3 weeks. So we'll keep you abreast of how that goes along, and as we get new things to show you and share with you for yourself. The other thing I would tell you is that both our mosquito collars have been calibrated, they're ready to go. Our count is really low right now, so we've been really dry, so that's good until today. We'll see what happens, but we're monitoring that, and again, that's wind and weather permitting we do that. So otherwise, Ron mentioned some small reprogramming. We'll probably look here after the 4th of July, put some water in the pool, test our repairs, and see if they're holding up. And go on from there. So happy to answer any questions. I have them on the packets. All right, thank you.
Marlos did put the fireworks time already in the chat box of the meeting on Facebook, so everyone watching and see it. Next up is Rick.
I got my last report. And I don't have anything much more than that unless you have any questions for me. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for all you've done.
No questions. Starting off easy. Now I'll peek over online for staff. It's Alvin that way. Mike is on. Do you have anything to report, Mike? Looks like you're muted if you do.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, you can.
Jeremy touched on most everything. Like he said, I had a field trip to Grinnell wastewater plant last Friday morning with staff from HR Green. A lot of the processes we looked at are the same or similar to what we're going to do. A lot of technology, and it's very interesting. It's light years ahead of where we are at now, what we have. As far as the current facility is concerned, the Band-Aids are getting bigger, and we're having to get a lot more creative about holding things together. And then to touch on the COVID-19 stuff, I work a week alone, and then the other 2 weeks work together. And I wish we could find some solution, because that week alone is starting to become tiresome. But other than that, I have nothing more to add.
That's anything for Mike. Thanks, Mike. And Larry, I see you logged in. There's a phone number I don't recognize, so I don't know if you're having audio trouble. So if that's you, I think you can hit *9 and it'll raise your hand. So we'll keep going through staff. We'll go to Aaron next, and then I'll come over to Karen.
I don't have anything to report this evening.
That's anything for Aaron? Thanks, Aaron.
You bet.
Karen.
Just been working on the bonding. We also, Rick and I talked to Danos about getting South Glen in the urban renewal area. So we'll be amending that. Next week we'll get that started and talk to him about that. Just watching the end of the year fiscal stuff, and we're looking pretty good, so.
John.
First, I'd like to welcome Mrs. Fisher to the Planning and Zoning Commission. We'll be meeting not next Monday, but the Monday after. So we'll kind of give you a little bit of an introduction. We'll be meeting here in council chambers. The project is going really well. The utilities should be done on between K and Lincoln Way. This week we're going to be finishing up, if it hadn't rained, punching the services through to the buildings, but we've got the one building left. The mattress store
as soon as we're done with that tomorrow, then we'll be done with that. They've tested they've taken the bacteria test down to the, hygienic lab down in Ankeny, for the water main. We'll get a result on that tomorrow morning, and when we do, hopefully when it passes, we'll, start hooking up the water services to that too. So I anticipate us being finished with the utilities between, Kay and Lincoln Way at the end of the week. And then, sometime Thursday or Friday, Construct is supposed to mow in and, begin prepping those 2 blocks for paving. You can see that we've, between I and J, we've been working on that block. We've got all the concrete in. We're working on the brick right now. We've just got the bump outs poured this weekend, and we'll be working on bricking up those bump outs here this week too. So that project's going really well. Like I said, we're staying with the schedule that we had said we'd anticipated earlier, and so yeah, I think we're doing all right. As far as everything else goes, they're moving dirt out there at South Glen. Hopefully we'll start the utility work. I think they said something about in the middle of August or something. So we'll be ready out there for that. Otherwise, that's all I got. If anybody's got any questions.
John, I just have a quick question. The question that I keep getting is, where is the construction on Main Street going next?
Where
Are we
we're going
back
next?
to the avenues, the
Well,
alleys? What are we doing next?
We're hoping, Construct will be moving out after they get done with this block this week. And they'll be gone for about 2 weeks. They anticipate those 2 crews, same crews coming back, at about that time. One crew will go to the alley between I and J on the east side, and then the other crew will be working on the west side of J Avenue. And they'll be starting those. And when we get done with that, we'll just flip over and do the east side of J, and then we'll move up the alleys as we go along. But I anticipate the side streets going quite a bit faster. That it takes about a day to run the services into every building. So I think we had like 13 buildings on this block, and we have like 4, maybe 3 on any of the side streets. So we'll be shaving about 2 weeks off of work off of each one of those. So we should move a little bit faster. We've gotten done with the hard part.
John, we had somebody ask, there was a meeting, maybe 2 meetings ago, about the drainage on Lincoln, right at the edge of town.
Yes.
On the south side here. And if you had a chance, or somebody had a chance to look into what can be done to help that?
We have looked at it. It's just the way that's kind of set up. The water runs down Lincoln Way and then runs over into their, some of it runs over into their loadout area, but a lot of that's just site water too, on their own site. So they have a lot of things that they can do to correct that. One of them would be, first suggestion would be, put a sump pump in there, and you can pump that water out into the rest of the site or into the city storm sewer or something like that. That would probably be the easiest thing to do. Obviously cheapest for us, the least cheapest for them. As far as things we could do, I think we've looked at a few things. Larry's looked at some of the tile maps that we've had, but we haven't been able to find a good solution in that. But a lot of that would be probably some private work to be done anyway.
But they can hold them.
Not yet, no.
What about our home visit that we keep getting emails about? Is that scheduled?
Same.
Oh, I
just responded to him earlier today and I haven't heard back. So when I hear back, we'll set up a time and we'll visit with him. So it'll either be Sean and I or Sean and Jordan, however they want to respond to getting me out.
Hopefully it's your responsibility anymore, chief.
I'm not city administrator anymore.
That's right.
But as soon as I hear from them, then we'll set up a time.
I'd like to get that one resolved. I think it's been going on for too long, roughly, I think, right? I know there's been some outside circumstances, but Right, yeah. The Ackermans were similar where we thought somebody was gonna go talk to them a couple meetings in a row. So, seems like a weak spot that we can maybe work on.
Anything else for Sean? Karen, off the top of your head, any idea what Larry's phone number is? He doesn't have audio connected. I didn't know if one of these numbers is his.
He usually does dial in with his phone. Have Larry's phone number.
Hey Larry, if that's you, you gotta talk.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I am listening on my phone, but I have to say, I kind of miss the Zoom meetings because everything is much clearer to me, but it's nice to have you all back in the council chambers. First wanted to give a shout out to Jordan. Welcome to the city. And I look forward to working with you to continue to improve the infrastructure in Nevada. With that, one thing that Sean's been keeping me busy, helping with the downtown project, and it is extremely fulfilling to watch the construction being completed as we go from the south to the north, and that the first block is nearly all in place, and it's looking extremely well, and I look forward to seeing how it all turns out as we continue the march north. Other than that, we did finally get the Lincoln Highway and 18th Street intersection project completed. The only thing that remained there from last fall was making sure that the grass and stuff grew in the right of way, and it is growing, and is accepted by both Sean and Jeremy, and so the contractor removed they did their last bit of work and removed the erosion control. So that project is ready to be accepted by the council and then by the DOT. So I've been working on getting some of the final documents put together on that to get everybody's acceptance of the project and get it done. Been trying to wrap up the South D Avenue project. There's state RISE money that was used to fund 80% of that project. The council accepted that back in April, but there's some final paperwork and forms that need to be submitted to the DOT, and I just did that today. The Lincoln Highway and 18th Street intersection project is funded through federal funds, so-called STP monies, and that's an 80% federally funded project, and so it's got a little bit more red tape to final that one out. Other than those two projects, obviously you approved the final construction plans for the South Glen subdivision. Last week we finished the second review and final comments and final revisions to those plans, and they're looking very good. We've got a number of other things going on in the city, but everything's going along pretty good, and take any questions you might have.
Going back, it might be more of a Sean question on W. Did the more inspections get done up there?
They have. I just contacted Logan today and wanted to ask about the status of the fence. They took a bunch of the rock out. They did clean up that Everton's front yard. We're a little concerned about around her mailbox. The mark is not gone off of that mailbox, but the couple other concerns that we had about the storm intakes and things like that have been addressed also. But hopefully with this rain, we'll see some grass grow too.
Were you able to look into the sidewalks? It might be like right parallel to or next to the street at all.
We did. I mean, there's just not a lot of space there. Plus, if they have them there, then they'll have to shovel them and keep them clean. And I don't know that there's enough space there when we plow to put the snow and not cover the sidewalk. So I think we're kind of looking to be, like, well, an irritant of sorts up there if we do that. Okay.
Hey, Brett, may I ask Larry something? Do I need to get on that?
Yeah. Larry, Al Copeland has a question.
Larry, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Maybe.
Yeah, I do have a question on the pit that we're supposed to put on the northeast side of our development that's going to connect with Central Iowa Water. Is that valve going to be an automatic valve, or is it going to be a valve that's only going to be opened up manually?
Oh, I wish I could answer that one, but I can't remember exactly how that's set up. I don't know. I'll have to check into it and get back to you.
Because my suspicion is that Central Iowa Water is not going to be able to furnish water for 59 homes if everybody flushed their toilet at the same time. And so consequently, if we have that problem, if we also have the fire situation, we're going to have a flow and a pressure situation. So it seems to me that should be some type of an automatic that would allow, when either the flow or the pressure goes down, that the water would automatically come from the city to help supplement that flow or pressure. Would you agree?
Yes, absolutely. And I think based on our earlier conversation in regard to that, we did not want to have to manually operate a valve. I just have to make sure that that's what they have planned, is have some type of a system that when the pressure drops low enough, obviously the rural water system runs at a higher pressure than the cities. So if it drops below a certain level of pressure, it should release and allow city water to run into the system. The idea that it would only be used at times of fire or something like that, where the rural water could not supply the water at the pressures necessary. So I'll make sure that how that is designed.
Thank you very much.
Except as Marlis.
Yeah, real quick, all the conversations I've ever had, Alan, were about having an automatic valve there, so should be.
It only makes sense.
Doesn't hurt to double check.
So I've been listening from the other room and you all sound great. And the main thing I want to say, I'm enjoying every day and still learning something every day. So that's kind of neat. We do have our first meeting of the website committee. The website redesign committee is this Friday. So I know that's a big part of what you all brought me in to do. And I just wanted you to know we're getting that done. Any questions? Thank you very much.
Get stuff out. Okay. So did I get everyone on reports? Okay. Then what we will probably do, we have a work session on Highway 30. So let's take a 5-minute break. Let folks stretch the legs, use the restroom. We'll come back. The DOT's already logged in and they'll present to us on Highway 30. So 5-minute break puts us at 7:45 and then we'll resume.
Wow.
I'm gonna take off, yeah, but I'll see you.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, well, wait, I'm used to that, and be on Zoom too, or that.
Yeah, it's gonna be on there. Both of you. You could mute for all the mics so that.
Hey, Marlis.
all the background noise.
Hey, I'm
Okay, so we will go ahead and resume. We have Tony Gustafson from the Iowa DOT to present a work session. So as all of you know, this has been a topic in front of the community now for decades. And we have, since the last time the city council dealt with it, 5 of the 6 of you were not here on the council, and our street superintendent wasn't here, our city administrator wasn't here. So we had a meeting last week with the DOT about their plans for an overpass at S14, and they're in the design process for that. So since there are so many new folks here, we wanted to start the process, have it be open and transparent, allow for public participation. So we'll have phases of that coming, but to get the process started, we asked the DOT to present the various options, some of the history, and then what they're doing with the overpass. So Tony, we'll go ahead and hand it over to you.
All right, thank you. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, we'll turn you up here, but your feed's coming through.
Should be better.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, thank you. Thanks for having me tonight, council and mayor. Like the mayor said, we did have a meeting here a couple weeks ago. We termed a field exam meeting for 30% complete plans for the S14 overpass. I know one of my staff members provided a lot of information for the council ahead of the meeting tonight. So what we discussed at the field exam was just one of the items was the participation in the trail that right now is designed on the east side of the project, the east side of S14, as it goes over US 30. We
have to share, Tony. You can share your screen. We gave you permission to do that if there's something you'd like.
Yeah, I don't have anything to share. I'm calling in from home tonight, so I'm on my iPhone. But you guys should have got the field exam plans. You should have got some preliminary concepts for the 2 different interchange layouts that were laid out approximately 10 years ago when we had a project in the area. But going back to the current project at the S14 bridge over US 30, which will enable us to close the existing ag-grade intersection at S14, which we've had safety concerns over the years there just because of the sight distance for eastbound traffic coming over the railroad bridge. We have had some crash history at that location. We've done some safety measures, flashing beacons and whatnot to try and mitigate some of those issues. But again, this is a program project, the overpass bridge it's in a January 2023 letting in our current 5-year program. As the layout that Ally provided shows, we still are going to connect S14 to South 6th Street, which will still have a connection to the ag grade at US 30 with this current project that's in the program. So some decisions for the council as far as this current project is, again, participation in the trail. As part of the project, our plans again show a trail on the east side. We're proposing a 10-foot wide trail. Now I noticed in a council action form back from March of 2017, we mentioned an 8-foot wide trail. So we could, if the council is still supportive of an 8-foot trail, that would reduce the cost a little bit for the city. We'd still propose a 10-foot width across the bridge just to make it a little wider for folks crossing the bridge. You know, someone in a wheelchair and a bicycle, it gives them that extra width when there's a barrier on both sides of you when you're crossing a bridge structure like that. And one of the exhibits that Ally provided was a project from Altoona, which is what we based this design on. Provides for a curb and gutter on the same side as the trail. It's like on a city street. We entered into an agreement with Altoona. We upfront the costs for the city. And then the city agreed to pay us back over a 3-year time period, 3 equal installments based on the actual bid prices. We provide an estimate as part of the agreement. And then after the letting, after the project is complete, the books are audited. Our finance department will send the first billing to the city, and then subsequent billings a year after that first billing. And based on the current schedule for this project, you know, the city would possibly see their first year payment in fiscal year 2025 at the earliest, as far as the budget, from a budgeting perspective. So that's one issue. Again, I guess just again in support of the city for adding the trail paving and that the trail work to our overpass project for S14 over US 30. Now the other item is a future interchange location, and those are, again, you guys should have an aerial picture showing an interchange at Airport Road / 610th Avenue, and then an overpass, again, I just talked about S14 over US 30. There's another option that shows the interchange at S14 and then just shows an overpass at 610th Avenue. And both options show paving of Maple Street. So the reason that we want to know, an interchange preference from the city is because if we build an interchange at S14, the bridge has to be wider to provide for a left turn lane across the bridge for the interchange ramp terminals for the folded diamond interchange. And the bridge would also have to be a little longer because the loops that handle the westbound exit traffic as well as the eastbound entrance traffic will go underneath the new overpass, which makes the overpass longer than what it is currently shown in our 30% complete plans. And I know that we also provided you the pros and cons of each alternative. When we were out here 10 years ago, the DOT proposed the interchange at 610th Avenue, a standard diamond, to get traffic into your industrial area on the west side of town. And of course, the folded diamond interchange was an interchange that was designed back in the 80s, late 80s and early 90s. At that time, again, that's probably before most of our time involved with the city of Nevada as far as any kind of projects on US 30, but we acquired the necessary right of way to build this folded diamond at S14 back in the early 90s when we actually built the 11th Street Bridge over 30 and the 19th Street interchange, just a little east of here. So, and again, you guys saw the pros and cons of both options. There was some, again, about 10 years ago, there was some opposition to having the interchange at 610th Avenue and closing East 6th Street and making traffic, take a different route to get into downtown. There was some concern over loss of business from closing East 6th Street intersection. And ultimately, we stopped any further development on either interchange option until we could come back at a later date. And now we're somewhat coming back at a later date with this proposed safety project with the overpass of S14 over US 30. And then again, we're looking at some kind of a preference from the city on which interchange option they're interested in pursuing. Again, there's nothing in our program. I can't promise you when it would get funded. It has to compete with every project across the state, not only in District 1, but in all the districts across the state. So the overpass itself is funded now for 2023 and probably into 2024 construction. But beyond that, there's no funding for either of the interchange options that you were provided to for this meeting tonight. So I know I threw a lot of information at you. I'm willing to take any questions you may have now on what I've presented to you. I know there's a lot of information that Allie provided for this workshop tonight.
And just so everyone's clear, what's on the 5-year plan is the overpass. So that's what the state's going to fund, which it would close S14 at grade, but leave 6th Street open at grade. So the long-term consideration is what really you have to think about, because just an overpass isn't wide enough or long enough for future ramps.
Right, so right now, if it's just an overpass at S14, our design as it's currently laid out really wouldn't change because there would be no interchange here with loops and turn lanes on S14 to get left turn traffic out of the way of the through traffic on S14 to enter on a ramp to get onto US 30. And of course, when either of these future interchange options, that's when East 6th Street, that connection would be closed at US 30. But again, that's a future, project, a possible future project. The city may not be interested in pursuing that, but so right now, again, what's programmed is just the S14 interchange. Yes, sorry, the S14 overhead over US 30, closing the at-graded S14, but maintaining the 6th Street connection to US 30. East 6th Street would still be connected to US 30, and then we would connect that into the new S14 alignment there on the north side of US 30.
Tony, this is Jeremy. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can make you out a little bit there, Jeremy.
Allie asked me about what we were gonna do with the old wastewater plant. She was gonna try
Correct,
to.
Yeah, what kind of facility or structure you would leave there as when you built your new plant? Yeah.
Yeah, she was gonna try to lay in a westbound high speed off of 30. Was she able to do that?
Yeah, she still hasn't looked at, she hasn't looked into the replacing that loop with a westbound exit ramp. Yeah, that was my suggestion. She looks into that, but she hasn't had a chance to dive into that option there for replacing that loop with a ramp instead, which is our preference. We don't prefer an exit loop. Again, that was put in there because of the existing treatment plant. So we're just, because that ramp may impact your current, but your soon to be abandoned sewer plant facility. So we wanted to see what kind of infrastructure would be left in place there. If we would want to try to avoid any of that if we could squeeze a ramp in there from the Indian Creek Bridge west to S14.
So if you could get rid of the clover leaf, would the bridge have to be as long?
Correct. The bridge would be shorter on the north side. We'd still need the bigger cost obviously is the width for the left turn lane. But yeah, the bridge would not need to be any longer on the north side of US 30 if we are able to remove the loop and build an exit ramp instead of an exit loop.
Thanks, Tony.
Yep. Thanks, Jeremy. Jeremy, you were going to send us something on that, what the site was going to look like when it's all said and done and your new facilities in place?
Yeah, I can, but we got together on Google Earth and looked at it and showed her what all was gonna.
Okay. All right. I'll ask her about it tomorrow. So I guess as a city, for that resolution back in 2017, I assume the city's still on board with providing a trail as part of the project and participating in that resolution back in 2017, which now is over 3 years ago. The estimated cost was $1.5 million from the city, and I'm hoping, we haven't ran a detailed estimate yet, but I'm hoping it stays around that number. We've seen construction prices go up fairly substantially the last few years, but again, we'll get into a detailed estimate again for the project. But so I assume the city's still on board with what they approved back in 2017 as far as a trail to connect the south side of Nevada to the rest of the city.
See lots of heads nodding.
Yeah, I know it's just a workshop, but anyway, yeah. You guys, I'm sure that.
Sorry, you finished.
The date of that council action forum was March 27th of 2017. I think it's got a number 6D maybe. Does that make any sense? 6D as in dog.
Yeah.
Anyway, that might have been provided. I don't know if Allie provided that or not, but I'm sure it's in your file somewhere, obviously.
And there's a ton more documents too that probably aren't in here that are schematics and all sorts of things that you can get if you'd like to peruse.
Hey, Tony, this is Councilman Hanson, and what is your so-called drop dead date that you need us to decide on what plan we want to stand behind, so to speak, so you guys can get your design done on time?
Yeah, so it's basically coming from our bridge office so they can get their bridge design, final bridge design started. They take a lot longer to design things than roadway designers, but they would like to see something by the end of July of this year. I know that's only 6 weeks away. You guys probably need something more than that, and I'm willing to entertain that and discuss that with our bridge bureau, but right now.
Well, it's nice to have a date. I mean, I don't think anyone knew for sure how fast we got to move here, so that's why I asked.
Yep.
Tony, this is Barb Bittman. You, early in your presentation, you talked about some financial things that we don't have in front of us. So if you could make that available to Karen so that we can see that.
I had a hard time catching all that. Was there a question in there for me? I'm sorry if I didn't.
Okay, at the beginning towards the beginning of your presentation tonight, you were talking about, you gave an example from another community about financing. And
Yes, from the Altoona project.
yeah, we don't have anything regarding finances in front of us right now.
Oh, I didn't send you the agreement from Altoona.
It wasn't in that.
Okay, we can get that. We can we'll resend it to the mayor or
Or Karen, maybe.
to Karen. Yeah, I thought she sent that out. She told me she did, but anyway, it's a pretty straightforward standard agreement, but yeah, we'll make sure to get that to you tomorrow morning. But it's got a detailed estimate.
It's their agreement though, it's not
Right.
financing for us.
How it worked and, yeah, so I was confused about what the borrowing and all that kind of stuff was, but I was also just, wondering in terms of relevancy to our project, is it a similar size project?
My
Yeah,
understanding.
I mean, it's almost, it's almost an identical project. It wasn't quite as long as this project. S14 construction's about 4,000 feet. The Altoona job was about 3,000 feet. So it's relatively close. It's that was an overhead bridge over Interstate 80 there by the Hubble Avenue interchange. So, I mean, it's just a very similar type project for building a grade separation. And so that's why we're using that one as an example for this project.
I was wondering, did the cost share for the pedestrian bridge?
While we're on
It was-
to study, I'd like to see, and I'm sure some of those got that overhead, the overhead pass off as 14, that maps, if we had built the next project, one that is approved in 5-year program.
I can't hear her very well.
I didn't catch any of that. That was something else directed towards me again. I'm sorry.
Cindy was asking if there's a map that has just the currently programmed project on it.
Okay. Yeah, it's part of the field exam probably plans.
Well, I think, Tony, since you guys are just talking about the bridge, I think Sandy would like to see layout, so to speak, of just the bridge that you're planning. I know that the bridge is going to change size a little bit depending on what we decide, but I think that's what she's looking for. Is that fair, Sandy?
That's what I need.
Yeah, and Cindy, on here, I can show you basically what it is. So what they have programmed is here, about here, just that. And then there's some of this that goes on here. So basically, this map is what they programmed. There's this is gravel.
And Tony, this is Councilman Hanson again. On this flyover bridge, is the whole Maple Avenue paving and that to 610, is that all part of this over this bridge?
No, not, the Maple Street is still, we're just connecting the existing gravel road to the new S14 on the west side. So none of that paving is included with this overpass project. The paving to the east to connect, Maple to the rest of that area in the southeast corner there, that's included, but nothing to the west of S14. We're just connecting that with the gravel road connection like exists there today.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
So am I correct in our goal tonight is whether or not we would like what's labeled the DOT approved plan or the DOT alternate plan? Is that what we're doing?
Well, so tonight's mostly fact finding. What we'll do is do more public input, let you guys chew on and ask questions. You don't have to make a decision tonight. So basically, the program interchange project that then was pulled 5-ish years ago. After that, there was a task force that Mayor Lathrop formed. They worked through it. The outgoing council at the time didn't act on that. So that map is in here too. The difference is the kicker there is finding the money for 2 interchanges versus 1. It's really what.
Correct.
That's in here too, as part of the history of that discussion.
And we did, Luke, to tell the public, the town, that we would have another, at least one more public forum, group meeting, city meeting. We'll have to see how it's gonna work out with everything that's going on before we make a decision, like it has. But it looks like we're gonna have to speed that process up a little bit. Tony wants by the end of July.
Well, our bridge bureau does, but.
Oh, the bridge, sorry, Tony, the bridge guys do.
I'd give you more time, but the bridge bureau, they want a decision to keep everything on schedule. I know January 2023 seems a long time from now, but they like final bridge plans done 8 months before that letting date, which is that'd be the middle of 2022, and then it takes 15 months to design. So now you're back to, the beginning of 2021. So that's why they're looking for a decision here, so they can proceed with getting a consultant hired to probably begin the design process for the bridge. And it's also, we're hoping to not have any kind of right-of-way acquisition with the S14 overpass, but we're at 30% complete plan. So by the end of the year, we'll pretty much have our final footprint determined for the grading and paving. So we'll know by the end of the year whether we need any kind of minor acquisition as part of the project.
Tony?
Yes.
Larry Stevens. Just
Hi, Larry.
a question. Well, how are you this evening?
I'm good.
Just a couple questions. You said that if the council determines that this is the location for the interchange, that it will require extra length and extra width on the bridge. How much? How much wider, how much longer would it need to be to accommodate the interchange?
Well, the extra width would be approximately 15 feet, Larry, again, for a center turn lane across the bridge. And then as far as the width, just based on the preliminary interchange layout on both sides, I would say it'd be another 50 foot in length. So about 15 foot wider and 50 foot longer approximately.
Okay.
Bridge costs nowadays are about $145 a square foot.
How much a square foot?
145.
Okay.
That's conservative, but so that's another $100,000, $100 to $125,000.
Al Coker has a question.
Mr. Al Coker, you remember me?
I don't know if your mic's on, Al.
It is now.
Okay, it's on now. Hey, turn John.
Speak up. Yeah, this is Al Poplar. You probably remember me.
Sure do. Hi, Al.
How are you?
I'm good.
Under the current plan, if you just do the overpass, okay, are you keeping Sixth Street open?
Yep.
Okay.
Sixth Street's going to be connected to the new S14 alignment under the current program project.
Okay. For how long?
It'll be open until we build interchange at some location and we make this section of US 30 priority 1 access control over interchange access only.
Okay. And how long would that be? Tell me you don't have plans because I know you folks do.
Yeah, it'd have to get programmed, you know, we'd have to get approval from the city on what interchange they would want us to proceed with, and then that's just the first step. And then again, we'd have to get it, they'd have to compete with other projects across the state for funding, and we'd have to have the commission approve any kind of interchange plan in Nevada before we would you know, see the intersection closed and the interchange built. I wish I could give you a time frame. It could be, you know, it could be over 5 years, it could be 10 years, it could be never. I mean, it's just, I can't speak for the commission, I can't speak for future funding. So that's the best I can tell you, Al, right now.
Because at first you were definitely going to close Sixth Street, is that not correct?
Once an interchange is built, yeah, if we're going to invest in an interchange along US 30, we're going to close the ag grade connections along US 30 through Nevada. Yep.
Okay.
If we don't invest in an interchange, we don't close the connection to US 30.
Okay. So basically what you're saying is that if you build an interchange either at 600 or 610, you're closing Sixth Street.
Yes. Because part of the interchange, you know, if an interchange is built at 610th, we would pave Maple Street back to the overpass, and that would be the access into downtown Nevada under that interchange option, which is one of the exhibits that was provided, I think, for this meeting.
So on the overpass that you have right now, just the overpass that connects to Sixth Street, which is in your layout number 4, okay? It seems to me that the plan that you had, the plan that the DOT drew in 1993 had an interchange at S14, did it not?
In 93? Yep.
Yes,
That's what we based our right-of-way acquisition on, yeah.
Right, and it seems to me that you acquired all that land because we had land at S14 that was purchased clear back in 91, 92, and 93 on the south side, where the interchange is going over that bridge right now.
Yes, correct, yep. So when we acquired the right-of-way, when we actually built the 19th Street interchange and the 11th Street overpass, we also preserved the right-of-way for a future interchange at S14 East 6th Street.
So I guess my question is, why did you change the plans? Why did the DOT change the plans from having an exchange at S14?
Well, that's in that, I think the pros and cons of as part of the packet we sent. You know, I think the council has that information about the pros and cons of access to the industrial area versus access to downtown. Diamond interchange, it's an easier configuration. The S14 had a folded diamond. I mean, I think we had support from the city, you know, 10 years ago for the diamond at 610th, and then a paved connection over east to S14 to the overpass to get into downtown Nevada. So, but again, I'm here tonight to talk about just our S14 project, the overpass bridge, and then also, the city again has a preference on which future interchange, either again at S14 or at 610, or again, the task force that was mentioned showed an interchange at S14, then an interchange over at 600th, I believe. I wasn't involved with those task force meetings. Yeah, interchange at 600th and an interchange at S14. Again, that's 2 interchanges, which was not in the DOT plans 10 years ago. So again, that's another funding hurdle to get to if that becomes a preference of the city.
Okay. Is the DOT also planning on building a road from, 590th Street, Brecky's Road over there, over to the International Bureau, the frontage building?
You're talking about our US 30 and 580th Street project?
Yes, I am.
Yep. So that project, we're acquiring right of way now for that project, and we are building a frontage road from 580th east over to 590th.
And the DOT is funding that frontage road.
Could you say that again, Al?
The DOT is funding that frontage road.
Yeah, because we're closing the connections. We're closing the 580th connection, and then we are building that frontage road. We're still leaving the connection open at 590th, but we're building that frontage road in case of there's a crash problem that is experienced at the existing ag grade intersection with that frontage road or backage road, however you want to term it, in place. It'd be easier to close the existing ag grade connection with US 30.
Okay. So how much what the city council comes up with, how much influence is that going to have on what the DOT finally says?
How much influence? Well, that's what we need to show that we have local support to pursue an interchange at whatever location that the city of Nevada is interested in pursuing.
Okay, because I was once told by a high official at the DOT saying that we will not do something that the community does not want.
Correct.
Okay.
That's why we scrapped our plans, approximately 10 years ago, because
okay.
The city there wasn't a supportive position for an interchange at that time at either location.
Very good. Thank you, Tony.
Yep. Thanks, Al.
Hey, Tony, Councilman Sampson here. One question for you, and that is the only thing that we are going to have to pay for would be the trail, correct? On this bridge over 30 on 6th Street.
Yep, just the trail. All the side street connections as it's currently designed, we're paying for. So it's just be the pedestrian access along S14 and the bridge, the extra bridge width to get, again, folks from south side of US 30 over to the rest of the city on the north side.
Once this bridge is up, the only thing that's being closed is S14, 6th Street, Agri is remaining open, east and west.
I think your 6th Street will remain open and connected to S14, but the S14 connection to US 30 will be closed.
Right. And then East 6th Street will still remain open at 30 Agri.
Yep.
Access to east or westbound 30.
Correct.
Until we make a decision one way or another whether we want an exchange somewhere.
For an interchange. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Other questions? Everybody clear? Okay, and we will follow back up afterwards and try to ready for next steps. Thanks. Thanks, Tony, for your time tonight.
All right. Thanks everyone. Again, if you got any questions, email us, we'll get you, check out the information we provided. And again, I'll make sure to get that old Altoona agreement and plans to the council, to the mayors, so that you'll have that for a reference.
We'll be in touch about scheduling the online copy for the community to go over the plans. Okay. With that, I think all we have left is adjournment. Move to adjourn.
Sorry.
And Jason, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. You're adjourned. Thanks. We need to get a meeting scheduled, Brad.